Hey, welcome or welcome back to my channel. I'm Joyce, and today I am talking about all the books that I read in January. Let's just say that we have a very well-rounded stack. I actually read a total of 12 books. These are all the physical books that I read, and then I did do some on audio, which I will just pop a picture of the cover on the screen. But without further ado, let us get to the very first book that I read in January. Ladies and gentlemen, we started out the year with a banger. Big Swiss will definitely be one of my top 5 reads of the year. It's super intriguing, it's engrossing, and it is mad funny. This little tiny synopsis up here, it explains the book so perfectly. It says it's a brilliantly original novel about a sex therapist, transcriptionist, and her wild affair with one of the patients. That is actually what got me, and Cosmo said that it was wild, hilarious, and so good. I could not agree more. So basically Greta, she's the one that transcribes these sessions. It's more than just the affair. I actually really enjoyed listening in on some of the other sessions and hearing just some of the things that these people were talking about. If you need a good laugh, like out loud, not just haha, not just a smile, not just a but like you need to pick up Big Swiss, okay? I also really like the book because we get to see the ramifications of dishonesty, right? So she ends up seeing Big Swiss, which is a nickname that she gave her. This is not her real name, but she ends up seeing her at a dog park, and she does not tell her, like, have all this personal insight about you and your relationship and your past and why you're in therapy, the fact that you're even in therapy. She does not tell her this. She basically introduces herself, and then they kind of meet as if it's their first time meeting, when obviously that's very dishonest because Greta already knows who Big Swiss is. So yeah, it's a really good love story and examination of infidelity and trauma and sex stereotypes, and it's just so good. Like, there's so many different layers. It was easily a 5-star for me. I gave it like a 4.5, but I always think about it, and so I'm like, it's probably really a 5-star read. So the second book that I read was Listen for the Light, and it was super fun and it was highly engaging. So in this one, we have a podcast host, Brian, who decides to investigate an unsolved murder. And in that murder, we had 2 best friends involved. Savvy is the one who ends up dead, and everybody thinks that Lucy is the one that did it because she had like blood on her and she was at the scene or whatever the night that Savvy was murdered. But Lucy does not have any memory, no recollection whatsoever about what happened that night. And at first she's really upset that this podcast host is looking into this unsolved murder. She's like, listen, I already have a reputation. I'm trying to move past this. She's struggling with the fact that she doesn't remember it. I mean, who wants to be known for killing their best friend? And so she's like, you know what? Instead of being mad at this podcast host for digging into this, I'm gonna lean in and I'm going to cooperate so that way I can find out the truth about what happened that day as well. Not gonna lie, this book is very messy. Folks are sleeping around quite a bit in this one. It's lots of drama. It's very chaotic. The grandma child was such a fave character. She's such a fun character, but even the grandma was messy. What? This book is just nuts. I highly recommend this one on audio. This was one of the best audio book productions I have ever experienced. Each narrator fully committed and executed their role, and it really did feel like you were listening to like a messy true crime podcast. This next one. Let me go ahead and just preface and say some of these books, I have a vlog that will be coming out very soon. It should come out after this video. If not after this one, then after the next one, but I'm pretty sure it's coming out after this video. And so I don't want to be redundant. That's one of the reasons I don't really like wrap-ups. If you pay attention to my channel, you do not really see a lot of wrap-ups. I prefer to bring you along on the journey, which is why I prefer vlogs. I want you to experience the book with me. I want to have my thoughts fresh and in real time. And so I'm not always the biggest fan of a book wrap-up, but I didn't do any vlogs this month because I was too busy recording this other vlog, like I said, that's coming out next, that I have actually been recording for a few months. So cannot wait for you guys to see it. So some of these books I'm gonna give like maybe a 1-2 sentence type of review, just because I don't want to have you guys hearing the same thing twice. But this one, baby, I'm okay to talk about. In this video, the next video, the next one, I'm gonna be talking about it until the end of time, and it is Intermezzo by Sally Rooney. Stop playing with me. Easy 5-star, first of all, but easily a top 5 read of the year, which was nice. Imagine getting 2 bangers at the top of the year. It's kind of scary because it's like, wow, what else can compare to this? Although I have read some good books since then. We'll talk about those for February. But yes, honey, Intermezzo, I love this book. I love this book so much. Out of all the Sally Rooney books that I've read, this is my favorite. I absolutely love this book. I ate it up. I cannot wait until you guys see and experience me reading this book in real time. Like I said in that future vlog. A lot of people might not like Peter, but I understood his character and what he represents right away. Ivan, I loved Ivan right away. So those are the two brothers. You have Peter and Ivan is dating this older woman. And so we get to see a lot of complexities there. Peter, he's got like a bit of a love triangle, but not really going on. He's just torn between the love that he wants and the love that he kind of has to almost settle for. Baby this. There were so many parts of this book where I felt seen or understood or validated. I'm not gonna go on and on and on because clearly I can. I just want to leave you guys with this. This is such a beautiful story on loss, grief, mourning, and longing. You want to see some flawed characters. You want to tackle some raw, heavy themes. Look no further. This is good stuff. This book will not be for everyone. And so just be honest with yourself. It's definitely literary fiction. There is a plot there, but it's mainly just vibes. If you do not like that, you don't like books that get too heavy, tossing around lots of themes and ideas, this won't be for you. But if you're okay to go deep and do it in such a soft-spoken, subtle way, Intermezzo is definitely the book for you. Okay, so this next book is Good Dirt, and I was really excited to read this book after I read Black Cake. I really enjoyed that one. I quickly added Good Dirt to my anticipated reads for 2025, and sadly, I did not love it. I really think that Charmaine Wilkerson is a great storyteller. She tells stories very well. It's just that she tells too many stories in one book for my reading taste, and so there were parts of the book that I really loved, and I just wanted to sit with and stay on that journey with those characters or that storyline, and then I would have to be pulled away, and I just wasn't the biggest fan of that. Some of the themes were like very heavy, and some of the characters and their storyline like I adored, I really loved, and I just really wanted more of that. So this one basically is following like an affluent Black family, and our main character went through a very traumatic situation involving another family member and a family heirloom many years before, and so now something has happened where she has found herself in the spotlight yet again. I really enjoyed that storyline. I also really enjoyed the storyline of following her parents and seeing them navigate a parent's worst nightmare. I think I gave this one like a 3.5, which is still great, you know, good book, good experience, but I did expect to like it a little bit more than I actually did. That's okay. No shade to Charmaine, no shade to this book. Oh, and another thing that drove me nuts about this book was that jar, honey, and I was just like, listen, I understand the significance, I understand the importance, and I understand that the book basically surrounds that jar, but I just stopped caring about it. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I was just like, we gotta learn about this jar again. And I just was like kind of over the jar by the end of the book. Nonetheless, I still had a good reading experience. I didn't hate it. I still recommended it to a couple people, but it's definitely not a book that I would recommend all the time. I'm not raving about. I've already forgotten a lot about what happened except for the storylines that I cared about. Yeah, those are my thoughts on that one. So this next one was so much fun, and it's always nice to have something that's really exciting, really fun after something that was just, you know, okay, or just, you know, didn't get you all that excited. And that book was good material. I loved this book. This was such a surprise for me. I expected this actually to give me like 3-star vibes, 3.5 star, but the more I think about it, this could be like a 5-star book. I think I have it sitting at like a 4.25, 4.5. I did not expect to enjoy this book as much as I did. It was very much a lighthearted breakup story, and normally you do not couple such words with a breakup, right? But it's a beautiful exploration of being alone and being single while also tackling the heartbreak and disappointment that comes with a breakup. This was like trying a dish, right? That you're like, I don't know if I'm gonna like that. And then you taste it and then you're like, that was kind of good. Okay, give me some more, give me some more. That is exactly what this felt like to me. It was super fun, super funny, super insightful. I was kind of like thrown off that we were gonna be in a man's POV, but that did not take away from it. I actually really appreciate it because we always get to see how a girl navigates a breakup. We don't get to see how a man navigates a breakup. So yeah, and this was actually my intro to this author. I will definitely give another book a chance by her. And I guess I did not give the synopsis, but basically we have Andy. boy who was just dumped by his girlfriend, and the reason that she gives him, it's just not enough for him. You know, he's like, it has to be something, it has to be more. And sometimes people just want to be alone. You know, there's power in being alone, there's freedom in being alone, and there's also a joy and a peace and a satisfying feeling that comes with being with someone as well. And so you get to see all of that being explored, and I was so pleasantly surprised by how much I enjoyed that book. So the next read for January was Welcome to the Hunamdung Bookshop. I can't even tell you what this book was about. But what I will say is that it was really cute. It was very charming. It feels very cozy. It definitely feels like a love letter of some sorts to people that are writers, like authors, and people that own bookshops and people that read books. So if you have a love for books and you just want something kind of cozy and you like to read books about books, this will be a good one to try. But it didn't have enough for me, you know? Like, I think that's what it was. It just was not holding my interest, but it held me enough that I didn't DNF it. Like, it wasn't a bad book. It was just okay. Like, you know, okay, I read that. That was cute. The way that it was approached and the way that it was explored, it just was not done in a way that I like my books to be approached and explored. And so, yeah, this one just kind of fell short for me. I didn't hate it. I didn't love it either. All right, so this next one was really fun, and it's actually a book outside of my comfort zone. So I love that because that is a reading goal that I set. This is not the book that I wanted to read outside my comfort zone, but any book that I read outside of my comfort zone is just exciting for me, and obviously it checks off that goal. So I love that for me, but I'm still gonna read the book that I planned on reading. But this was actually a sci-fi book, and it is Dark Matter. This was good. This was really good. This was so good that I went and I watched the show. This book follows our main character, Jason. He's married, he has a son, he's a professor, and his wife, does she work at a gallery? She either works at a gallery or she stays at home. I'm not really sure. He ends up going out to celebrate with his friend. His friend got like some major award, and then somebody basically attacks him. Come to find out, he attacked himself. So it's just so crazy because Jason too has come to this world to pretty much take his life. Calls himself giving Jason the opportunity to experience a life that he did not get to explore. I thought that this was a very cool concept for a book because so often we wonder, what if I made this choice instead of that choice? If I ended up with this person and not that person, or if we had the child, if we didn't have the child, if we went to this location and not that location. So I think a lot of people wonder that, and so that is exactly what you get to see here, except it was intensified because this is sci-fi. He wasn't able to just explore one world. He was able to go to multiple worlds and see multiple variations of what could have been for his life. And I just thought this book was so much fun. It also was kind of romantic to me because in every world, he always loved his wife. I mean, like, it was so beautiful to me how no matter what world he was in, he wanted to find her. He was so loyal to her. He was so in love with her, and he was just so in awe at her beauty and just her as a person, just her being. And I'm like, dang, honey, I need to be loved like Danielle. I think that's her name. Obviously, her name is not even on the back of the book, but I think it's Danielle. If it's not, just know that, like, Jason loved his wife, okay? And he didn't care what world he was in, he was getting back to her and his son. The next book that I read, I also read this for the vlog that's upcoming, so I'm not gonna go too far into it, but it is Martyr. I was not the biggest fan of this book. I did not feel that it was cohesive enough for me. This book was a big trauma dump, and I just was not in the proper headspace to take on and navigate and explore some of these themes that were being explored. I know that I am probably the only person on the internet that did not like this book. You will not hear other people saying bad things about it, and it's so crazy because I'm not going to sit here and say that the book was not beautifully written. There were lots of beautiful moments, there were lots of beautiful sentences, but it just didn't do it for me. Wish I hadn't wasted my time reading it. It's just so crazy because normally I will DNF a book if I'm just not feeling it. I'm just not feeling it. For me personally, I don't see what the hype was all about, but if this one was on your radar to read, please take my opinion with a grain of salt and just check it out for yourself. So the next book is Colored Television by Danzy Senna. This one was so cool because the author, I want you guys to see her picture first. Okay, so that's her picture, right? So I was like reading the story and I saw the picture and I'm like, hold on, this white lady wrote this book? And so I was like, let me do a little research here. Come to find out, this lady is actually a black woman, okay? She is of mixed race. She has a black father. I was flabbergasted. And it's so funny because my exact reaction to be like, okay, are you qualified to write a story like this? She explores a lot of those themes in this book. Being a mixed race woman and having to prove herself because she does not look a certain way. So it's like, if she even says that she's black, people are kind of like, who's black? You got a picture? Like, let me see some proof, basically. This one was actually really fun. I like that it was a dark humor. I love books that approach pain with humor and wit because that's how I am in my real life. It's like, okay, there's like a dumpster fire going on here, but let me tell a joke real quick, you know, like I'm always like laughing to keep from crying. And so I like that her writing style had that same approach. And I really like that it was a story about failing and reinventing oneself. It's a story about classism and race and identity. I really feel like people of mixed race would really enjoy this book. Aspiring writers might enjoy this book because she's going through a situation where she was not having the best writing career and then it's looking like it's gonna be good and it's gonna be great and you know things are gonna be going well and then something happens and then it goes terribly wrong, and it's just like a real depiction of real life. Like, you know, things don't always work out how we think they are in real life. Like, let's just be honest. And so her book was very honest. It was very raw. I just really had fun with like her creative writing style. So the next book that I finished was The Miracle Morning, and this was by Hale Elrod, and I really enjoyed this one. I actually took my time and I read it all month. This is a nonfiction book. I really wanted to get back to creating a morning routine. I have a little kiddo who does not always sleep the greatest. I'm not talking about, you know, just here and there. I'm talking about a few times a week where she gets up at like 1, 2, 3 in the morning and then we're both just running off of a little bit of sleep. So it's really hard to create a morning routine when you're in a situation like that. But I just got to the point where it's like, I really want that. So on the days when I can have a morning routine, I want one. He follows the system of the savers. So silence, affirmations, visualization, exercise, reading, and scribing. Most of this stuff, like I already knew, but there were so many gems. You'd have to just read it to know what I mean. Like I underlined so much, it's not even funny. Although there wasn't like all this wild new information, it felt good to have things that I already know refreshed in my mind. I feel like with like, you know, personal development and things like that, you can't just like read it one time and then be done with it. You know, you need to practice it. You need to do it. You need to study it. So yeah, this was just me being intentional to read something to get me back in the mindset of having a morning routine. I feel like with books like this, you do not need to adapt this entire thing. I will not be doing that. But there were a few things in here that really resonated with me and I cannot wait to implement. There were some new things, but there's also just like a lot of nuggets to make you feel inspired and grateful and just optimistic, and I really like that. I'd recommend it for anybody who's looking to jumpstart or get some ideas as to what they can do to create a better morning routine. All right, so the last book that I read in January is Beautiful Ugly. This is by Alice Feeney, and this was actually my first read by Alice Feeney, and I really enjoyed it. I would definitely read another book by her. I also did this book as a buddy read with Kayla, and I will link her channel. We always have so much fun together. This is actually our second buddy read together, and we always just have very similar thoughts. So she reads all things mystery, suspense, and thriller. I obviously read thrillers, but I primarily read literary and contemporary fiction. Yeah, reading the book with her, I think it really enhanced the experience. Not to say that we were ever bored. Like, we were talking about that. Like, I was never bored when reading this book. I was actually very captivated by the storyline. It was very suspenseful. It was very intriguing. So, quick little synopsis. Basically, our main character, Grady. So, Grady, he gets some really good news and he's like, oh, gotta call bae. He calls his wife. He's telling her his really good news and then he hears her slam on the brakes. There's something in the road. He's like, do not get out of that car. He's trying to caution her. She gets out of the car. She goes missing. He does not hear from her or see her for a whole year. And so obviously he's distraught. He's stressed out, and he's also a writer. And so he's like, you know what? I need to write a new book. He's running out of money. So he decides to take a trip so that he can clear his mind, feel less stressed, I guess, and sad about what has happened to his wife. So he goes to this location, and who does he see? Someone that looks like his wife. The audacity is out of control, right? So the synopsis, it hooks you. You really want to know, like, what's good with you, sis? Like, did you just abandon your husband, or is this his wife? The mystery around that is just crazy, okay? And so I think that's why it's such a captivating read. Like I said, we were never bored, and I really did appreciate the exploration of the beautiful and the ugly parts of love. There was so many things that were just so good. I think I even started highlighting stuff like on page 1 or 2, if I'm being honest. Page 2, marriage is made of a million beautiful and ugly moments, stitched together into a shared tapestry of memories, all of which are viewed and remembered slightly different, like two people staring at the same painting from opposite ends of a room. That is so good. And then here's another one. Keeping the spark alive when you've been married as long as we have, it isn't easy. I try, but what's important changes as we grow older. Listen, it was gem after gem after gem. I feel like because I'm a married woman, I know the beautiful and ugly parts of marriage. I really enjoyed the book. But as far as like a thriller, I needed a few more twists. I needed something to be a little bit more climactic about the twist. Do not get me wrong. It was very juicy. It was very jarring. And the ending of the book was like jaw-dropping. I know you lied. Like wildly creepy. That was another thing. The book is very atmospheric. Like wherever he goes, it's like very woodsy. And so she does a very good job of creating this atmosphere that you can like feel, which made it very creepy. I was like reading at night and I was like, okay, maybe I shouldn't read this at night. But yeah, I really enjoyed the vibes. It was just the thriller aspect of it. I really wish that it would have had more climactic moments, more little twists, or the major twist itself. I just needed something a little bit more, you know? So that was my only thing that I did not like about the book. But other than that, I had a good time. She had a good time. We had a good time together. So I think that it was a pretty good reading month overall. 2, if not 3 5-star reads. I read outside my comfort zone. I finished all those books that I needed to finish for that other vlog. Knocked off a nonfiction already. I'm supposed to be reading 1 a quarter. So we love that I already got that taken care of in January. So I'm already starting off the year with some banger books, some 5-star reads, and I'm knocking off some goals. Love this for me. But that is it for today's video. Let me know if you've read any of these books and if you've had similar thoughts. Let me know if you found you a 5-star read in January. I would love to look it up, look into it, see if it might be something that I want to explore. Do not forget to prioritize self-care, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.